So today's guide is going to be on Imbibitor Lunae. I've been 100% waiting for him to come out, and it is absolutely amazing to test him out, see what he does, all that type of stuff, because man, does this dude do some damage. He has a lot to his kit and a lot of really confusing things in his text because there is a lot of it. So today we are going to be dumbing it down, making it a lot easier to digest so that everyone understands super easily what he does, how he does it, what his best builds are, what his best teams are, best relics, best Lightcones, all that type of stuff that you possibly need to know about Imbibitor Lunae. We're going to be talking about his kit and everything else because yes, his kit is a little wordy and it is a little complex if you don't know what you're doing. And there's a lot of things that we can talk about in regards to tips and tricks that way, because a lot of people really do think that Imbibitor Lunae is going to take up a lot of skill points, basically to the point where no one else is going to be able to use them. But that is a far from it fact, just because there's a lot of things that you can do to prevent this. Not only is this part of his kit, it also can become part of his team that's going to make it to where he's always going to be able to level 3 no matter what. No complex speed tuning, no complex anything in order to actually get it going. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about his kit because Imbibitor Lunae has quite a bit. Now, starting off with the basic attack, I usually say, well, it's just a basic attack. It really does nothing else. But in this instance for Imbibitor Lunae, this is actually going to be what his primary source of damage is going to come from. Because his basic attack at the first and original level, I guess you could say, as everyone else has it, it's just a normal hit, nothing else that is different. But through the use of his skill, you're actually going to be able to enhance his basic attack up to 3 different levels. You have his level 0, which of course is the one that regenerates a skill point. His level 1, which is going to be enhanced single target damage. His level 2, which is going to be enhanced single target damage with adjacent hitting targets. And then the last one is going to be the final level and is going to be single target damage with more adjacent hitting target damage. So it is overall just stacking damage on top of damage on top of damage. And that's what you would expect if someone is going to be using more than one skill point on their turn. So yes, you can waste up to 3 skill points, or you can choose not to waste any and get one back. But for the most part, you are going to want to make sure you're using some form of skill points for Dan Heng, just because he gets a lot of from it, and you definitely want to make sure you're hitting that level 3 because of what's in his skill. When you get to Dan Heng's skill, you're actually going to see that if you're going to be hitting more than 4 hits per hit, which is going to come from his basic attack, you're actually going to be getting some stacks, which is going to be called Dominating Roar. Dominating Roar is going to give you a certain amount of crit damage based on how many hits you've done after 4 hits. So the more hits that you get after level 2, that's going to increase it by a certain amount. And then when you hit level 3, that's going to increase it to the max amount, which is going to be the 4 stacks, giving around 40-ish to 40 plus crit damage extra onto your last attacks. And for the amount of damage that you're going to be doing when you hit level 3, that is absolutely insane to see that you're getting free crit damage out of nowhere. It's gonna make it a lot easier for people to feel how powerful he's going to be, even if you don't have as many good relics as you would want. There's just a lot of really cool things that come from his kit and his traces that are going to help you a lot in regards to building him. So overall, his basic attack is going to be his manner of doing damage, and his skill buffs his basic attack to be able to do certain things. Level 0, you get a skill point. Level 1, you do more single target damage. Level 2, you're going to be doing single target damage plus adjacent. And then level 3 is going to be a lot of single target damage and a lot of adjacent damage as well. Now, talking about the ultimate, this is probably one of the more important things to talk about in his kit, because this is going to be the way that you're going to be allowing some leeway on your team to keep the skill points that they want, because everyone's going to want to do something. You're going to want to have your buffer buff. You're going to want to have your healer heal, all that type of stuff. You don't want to just waste everybody's skill points to the fact that you're just going to have 0 and no one else can do anything, because you don't want that to happen, especially in Memory of Chaos, because you know how that can be. So with his ultimate, it is going to be single target with adjacent as well. And not only that, he's going to obtain 2 stacks. Now, these stacks are going to be at a max of 3, but what these stacks can do is actually insane. These stacks can actually count as skill points, but only for Imbibitor Lunae, which is absolutely fine. So if you're going to be using your ultimate, you're going to be doing damage, and not only that, you also are going to be regenerating 2 skill points that are exclusive to Dan Heng. So that way, either you can do a level 2 for free, you can do a level 1, use your ult again, and then you can have a free level 3 with not having to waste any skill points. There's a lot of different options in the way that you can play Dan Heng. There's a lot of different ways that you can use them so that you're able to guarantee what exactly you want from him. Either you can do a bunch of level 3s at once when it comes to using its ultimate, stacking the one from before, and then you can get the other stacks, boom, level 3, and then boom, another level 3 from the actual skill points in your bar. There's a lot to go with this, and it's really fun to see that we're doing some extra mechanic type things, extra things that are exclusive to these characters. That way they're not affecting the rest of the team as hard. So a lot of people really do think that Dan Heng is just basically going to be depleting your skill bar gauge no matter what, which is not the case because when he gets his ultimate, he's actually going to be able to regenerate some. And not only that, when we do talk about his teams, there's ways to make sure that he always gets his level 3, and also the other characters can do what they need to do as well. Now, talking about his talent, which is going to be after every hit he does in his little combos from his basic attacks, he is going to be increasing his damage up to every hit, up to 6 stacks. So you can preface wanting to do the level 3 a lot more, because not only are you getting the crit damage from his skill after you hit after the 4th hit, you're also going to be getting more damage from his Righteous Heart as well, coming from his talent. So you really want to prioritize hitting level 3s, hitting level 2s as much as you possibly can, because doing maybe say 10 level 1s is not going to do as much damage as a full 1 level 3, just because you're going to be getting that crit damage buff, you're going to be getting those damage buffs. There's a lot that goes into making sure that he gets his max amount of levels for his basic attack so that you're able to do the most amount of damage. So this is all really cool. And then his technique, in all honesty, one of my favorites in the game, because you're going to be dashing like crazy through everywhere, and when you do hit someone, you're going to be getting a stack that gives you a skill point. So you get 1 skill point for free for using the technique, and of course it's exclusive to Dan Heng, but that's absolutely amazing. And as you can see in the gameplay behind me, I am absolutely blitzing through Simulated Universe, going through every single door, every single enemy, getting them to them super fast, and getting my skill point on top of that in the next battle. There's just a lot of really cool things when it comes to Dan Heng and how this kit works. Super really cool things, a lot of AoE damage, which is going to be really good for sure. And I just can't wait to talk about the rest of the things that he has. Now, going on to his traces, he does have some really cool things in his traces by far. So not only are you going to get crit damage from this trace right here, you're going to get crit damage if you're fighting an imaginary weakness enemy, which is something really good for people that own Silverwolf, because not only are you having Silverwolf do defense down, all that type of stuff, you can also convert those enemies to imaginary weakness, and boom, crit damage plus 24% for Dan Heng, making it a lot easier to build for sure. And not only that, the minor traces that Dan Heng has actually boost up his crit rate as well, and you know, alongside his Lightcone, which we're going to talk about in a second. So yeah, you're going to be building Dan Heng very easily. You're going to be getting crit damage from the level 3 and level 2, getting those Righteous Heart stacks, getting those Dominating Roar stacks. There's a lot that goes into Dan Heng, getting extra damage and also getting extra crit rate, crit damage when you're doing the level 2s and level 3s. Now the crit rate is going to be coming from his minor traces. So yes, Dan Heng is going to be very easily to build if you're actually able to fulfill some of the requirements, like having him with the level 3 from his basic attack, also giving him an imaginary weakness enemy to fight. You're going to be getting more crit damage, and then not only that, you get the static crit rate from his actual minor traces. So yeah, a lot of really cool things to say when you're actually using Dan Heng. Now his other ones are going to be at the start of the battle, immediately regenerate 15 energy. This is very important because again, you want to use your ult as many times as you possibly can. That way you're able to get more skill points exclusive to Dan Heng, and also trigger his level 2s and level 3s for free. So this is all really good stuff. And then another thing that I think is very important and something that is very good on Dan Heng, which is going to be increase the chance to resist crowd control debuffs by 35%. We all know how annoying it is to get debuffed, have the character's turn get skipped, or maybe have it to where they can't do anything, no ults, no attacks. So many different things that can happen, especially in the harder forms of content of MOC. You're going to be seeing yourself get debuffed a lot, and him having this innate 35% already on him, including whatever you have from his relics, overall just really good traces. All of them have an insane amount of value that you're able to provide for Dan Heng with these traces being active. So make sure to go ahead and activate all of these. But going ahead and talking about the Lightcone, now of course his best is going to be his signature Lightcone, which is going to be Brighter Than the Sun. Brighter Than the Sun is going to be increasing the wearer's crit rate by 18%, which that's insane already. And when the wearer uses their basic attack, they will gain 1 stack of Dragon's Call for 2 turns. Each stack of Dragon's Call will increase the wearer's attack by 18% and energy regeneration rate by 6%. So this is really nice to see. You're going to be getting that ult faster, and you're going to be doing a lot more damage whenever you're using your basic attack, which of course is his main source of damage. And Dragon's Call can be stacked up to 2 times. So yeah, this is some really cool stuff already. Like I've said before, he has a lot going for him. But of course, what are his substitute Lightcones that you can actually use on Dan Heng? Now, when it comes to the substitutes that Dan Heng can use as a Lightcone besides his signature, there are a couple that you can use. Now, a lot of them do have really specific conditions, so I won't really recommend a good amount of them. But one that you could really easily get, which is going to be one of the best ones for sure, and probably my main target if I didn't go for his Lightcone, which would be on the Fall of an Aeon, which is actually going to be a free-to-play Lightcone that you can get from the Herta shop. And this can actually work very well on Dan Heng, because when the wearer attacks, Their attack is increased by 8% in this battle. This effect can stack up to 4 times. When the wearer inflicts weakness break on the enemy, the wearer's damage increases for 12% for 2 turns. It is overall just a really good Lightcone for him to have. He scales off of attack. He can definitely use that wearer's damage increase by 12% if you break the enemy, which overall just really good, just because Dan Heng is able to break shields very easily with him having his level 3, his level 2, his ult. He has a lot of high hitting hits on his kit, so this is very easily to obtain and get these buffs from this Lightcone. Other than that, you can use stuff like the most welcome you won't be able to use it all the way, but the attack and the ultimate can stack, giving you more attack percentage. You won't be able to use the skill buff just because it's not actually going to hit the enemy. It's a self buff, so you won't get the full mischievous stacks from that. Art in the Blue Sky can help as well. It'll give you a static percent of attack, which is going to be 16% at Superimposition 1. And then not only that, when you defeat an enemy like maybe a trash mob while you're trying to DPS the boss, you're going to be getting 12% crit rate for 3 turns. This is overall nice, so they keep on spawning mobs. If they have mobs on the side when you're fighting a boss, you can get some crit rate. Like I said, with the already given crit damage from his trace and his skill, it is overall going to make building him very easily if you have certain Lightcones on for him. Other than that, there aren't much different Lightcones that you can run in order to increase his damage. I do think the Herta Lightcone is going to be by far one of the best for Dan Heng if you're not going for the signature, and plus it's free. But you can use other stuff like Nowhere to Run. This also gives a static attack buff. And if you're very desperate, which you shouldn't get to this point, you can use Collapsing Sky. But just go ahead, go for Fall of Aeon. It is a free destruction Lightcone from the Herta shop. Very easy to get, very easy to superimpose. You will get a lot of gains from this for sure. So make sure to go ahead and use this. Now, talking about his relics, this is something that you can change a little bit in regards to what sets you want to use. Now, one of the sets that I like to run, and me personally, the one I'm going to be running on Dan Heng, is going to be Wastelander set. You're going to be getting that 10% damage increase, which is going to be absolutely amazing for Imaginary. That's going to be really good on him. And then for the 4-piece set, if you're going to be breaking shields with Dan Heng, for the most part you are, because they are going to be getting that debuff for imprisonment. You're going to get a free extra crit rate and extra crit damage on top of what he gives in his kit alone, and also REHOO in Arena. You're just overall getting so many different spots of crit rate and crit damage all throughout your build. It's absolutely insane how much you can get for free on Dan Heng, and you can see easily why he's going to be a very hard hitting unit out the box without anything else in regards to having perfect relic, just because he has so much in his kit by itself. Now, if you don't want to run Wastelander, say you never wanted to actually grind out that set, maybe you only have the 2-piece set for imaginary damage, then you can also run Mesquiteer Wild Wheat, because you are going to be getting that attack increase by 12%. And if you want to run the 4-piece, that's actually not that bad as well, because you are going to be getting that speed increase, and you're also going to be buffing the basic attack damage, which is his main source of DPS, by 10%. So this is overall just a really good 4-piece set that you can run on Dan Heng. Me personally, I want that extra crit rate, I want that extra crit damage, and I also want that imaginary bonus plus damage as well. So a lot of really cool things that you can do with Dan Heng. He does have some different variations of what relics you can use. You can experiment. There's a lot of really cool things that Dan Heng can do. But let's go ahead and start talking about his Eidolons as well. Now, his Eidolons for sure are way too good, in all honesty, when I read through them. Now, for E1 is going to let you get another stack of Righteous Heart, which is going to be buffing up your damage, and this is going to come from you doing hits on your basic attacks. Overall, just a really good damage increase for your Eidolon 1. For Eidolon 2, now this one's just a little too strong too quick, because for Eidolon 2, whenever he uses his ultimate, not only is going to get a advance forward by 100%, he's also going to get 1 extra stack of that skill point equivalent. So yes, if you get E2 and use his ultimate, you are going to get a free level 3 off the rip, which is absolutely insane in my honest opinion. I do think that E2 is the best stopping point if you are looking for Eidolons, but I think by himself at E0, he's just enough for sure. For E4, you're going to be getting buffs provided by Dominating Roar persist until the end of this character's next turn. So overall, you're going to be getting the damage buff. If you somehow get your ultimate before your turn actually happens, then you're going to be able to do more damage with your ultimate. I think that's the only practical use you can use this E4 on. And then for E6 is going to be if any ally uses an ultimate, Dan Heng's imaginary res pen is going to be increased up to 3 stacks of 20%. that's just going to be overall nuking like times 50. So that is an insane amount of damage coming from him. Dan Heng for sure has a crazy amount of AoE damage, crazy amount of damage period in his kit. Just an overall really fun, very cool unit. He has a lot of decision making that you can possibly do if you want to have it that way, if you want to save skill points or use a bunch of them at one point. I just really like how they give you a choice and an option for every situation if you're going to be using Dan Heng. But let's go ahead and talk about the very last thing, which are going to be his teams. In regards to Dan Heng's best teams, I do think his very best team, and this is very 5-star heavy, is going to be Dan Heng himself, Ting Yun, Luocha, and Silverwolf. Now, again, I do think all these characters, even if you put them in an assortment in a different team, as long as you have one of them, I think they're going to be benefiting him very greatly. Just because Ting Yun is already a skill point positive character. She's able to attack buff, she's able to damage buff, she's able to give energy for his ultimate where he can get his own skill points. There's just a lot going on for Dan Heng if you have Ting Yun on the team. So I do think Ting Yun for sure will be one of his best teammates no matter what. So you definitely want to build Ting Yun. You definitely want to have her paired up with Imbibitor Lunae if you're able to, just because she provides so much for his kit. And it's just overall just insanity how much she can provide for him. Another thing that's really great for him is Silverwolf, because like again, I have that trace where you get 24% extra crit damage if he's fighting an imaginary weakness enemy. And with Silverwolf, well, she can just put that on anyone, which will give him an extra 24% crit damage no matter what. So that is absolutely crazy. And then Luocha just doesn't use skill points at all. He can make it to where he doesn't need to use any, so Dan Heng just gets free skill points from him. So there are a good combination of characters that you can use in any sort, in all honesty, when it comes to using Dan Heng. Now, there is a character, if you end up getting her E6 through his banner, that will definitely by far be a must-have on his team, which is going to be Yukong, because Yukong, not only does she have a trace where she gives imaginary damage, she also has at E6 the ability to use her ult and get the bowstring buff. And if I'm not wrong, that will also proc her crit rate and crit damage buff to all allies. That's going to be absolutely insane. I've already told you many times how many things get added onto Dan Heng innately and through his relic pieces, not really the ones that you grind out. There's already way too much going on, and if you end up getting lucky and getting E6 with Yukong, that's an absolutely amazing team, absolutely amazing DPS that you're going to be getting out of it. So yes, any skill point positive character when it comes to Ting Yun, when it comes to being able to put imaginary weakness with Silverwolf, being able to have Luocha with his skill point positive character as well. There's a lot of different routes that you can use to be able to make a really good team. As long as you have any one of those characters, and I know pretty much almost everyone has Ting Yun for the most part, you'll be fine with Dan Heng. He really doesn't use that many skill points in all honesty, because you're going to be able to use characters like Bronya, Ting Yun that are giving him speed, or you can use Asta as well. Giving him speed, letting him attack more, being able to do his ult more. That's basically the name of the game with how you want to build him and how you want to use him. The more speed he gets from other characters that are not himself, because you want to prioritize damage, you're going to be doing more ultimates, you're going to be getting more skill points for free, you're going to be able to let it stack up more if you're having characters like Ting Yun or Luocha who don't use skill points. There's just a lot of different avenues. You can use many different teams with Dan Heng. That's pretty much it for this video. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. This dude is absolutely insane. I cannot wait to test him out in other situations and other modes, because man, he's just this fun. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. See y'all in the next one, and peace.